So there's just aliveness, there's just energy, there's just sitting, standing, speaking, sound, seagulls, chairs, energy. That's all there is. Nothing being everything. And this has been illuminated this afternoon, that the sense that may be there, that there's something happening and that the you that it's happening to is actually a story. It's a lived sense of separateness when you feel like an individual. It's a lived sense of being the one who hears, being the one who sits, being the one who thinks, being the one who feels. It's not an idea, it's a lived sense of an outer and an inner. There's a sense that you have a life. So there's a life, there's a lightness, there's a sound of a door closing, someone's going to appear to walk in, and it all feels like it's really happening. It feels completely real. The individual is living in the real. Everything is real. I'm real, the world is real, and time and space are real, and things are really happening in time and space, in that causal reality. The doorbell went, it was opened, a lady walked in. So we feel that this is a really lived sense of that. One thing happens, then another thing happens, and another thing happens, and we're told in the story then that's the way it is. That's reality. And that's confirmed to us. So in the story we're continually told from when we're very young that yes, you have a life and the choices you make dictate the kind of life you have. So if you do this and don't do that and so on, and it all comes down to you having control of your life and you trying then to make something of your life, make a success of your life. And there's something about that reality, that lived reality, that's very dissatisfying. There's an agitation in it and a question about it, that there's something in it that does, no matter, even if you're really successful or whatever your story is, it doesn't actually matter what your story is. There's a question, because there's with that sense, that lived reality of me and another, me and the door, me and the person, me and hearing the seagull. There's something that seems to be missing. But the individual lives in a reality where they feel that if something's missing, you can know what's missing. You can find what's missing and you can do something to get there. So then we hear all sorts of stories about enlightenment and oneness and wholeness and how you can be complete and whole and what you can do to get there. And that's very appealing to the individual who is already in that reality of doing something and feeling that through that progressive endeavour, they're kind of bringing about states and they're bringing about more knowledge and making their life somehow better. And actually, what's being suggested this afternoon is that what's yearned for has nothing to do with that reality that we're accustomed to. It has nothing to do with you. The story of you, that you are simply a story, and that's what's being yearned for, has absolutely nothing to do with how you think you are, how you experience yourself to be. All of that is simply a story. And actually what's yearned for is not about you getting somewhere, getting something, knowing something. It's actually a loss, an apparent loss. And the loss is of that lived sense of separateness, where I'm hearing, I'm speaking, I'm sitting, this loss of me. And actually there already is no individual. There's simply just whatever is appearing to happen. Sounds, sitting. There's nobody actually sitting in this room. Although when we speak now this afternoon, I'd hazard a guess that some people might say that they do feel like they're sitting in the room and they do feel like they're individuals. And that's what this whole sharing is. It's a suggestion from nothing, in which that sense of being separate, there's questions from that. And so there's a question and there appears to be an answer from here, but it's not from Kenneth actually, it's just from nothing. But it's not about the answer to the question. It's not about anything that's knowable, or it's not about a concept. It's totally and utterly energetic. Because the lived sense of feeling separate is completely energetic. It's an energetic, held feeling in the body of being in here and looking out in a world and moving in that world and relating to others and so on. And actually, it's incredibly simple what's actually sought. It's simply, ordinarily, just whatever is appearing to happen. It's sounds, it's sitting, it's simply just already aliveness. What was yearned for when you felt separate had never gone anywhere, but you'd gone somewhere apparently looking for it. What you'd always yearned for is simply whatever appeared to be happening. So we'll see what appears to happen. It doesn't matter at all about the question. You really can't go wrong or right. And it's all an energy. It's a resonance. You'd hear me say resonance a lot, because this communication is essentially, when it's heard, it's a resonance with what's said. That's not conceptual. It's not a knowing. It's not a state. It's not an experience. It's indescribable, and yet completely, totally and utterly ordinary and obvious. Simply whatever's appearing to happen. So we'll see what happens. Apparently happens. You looking for this, are you?
So, the thought arose about once the sense of self dissolves, disappears, whatever, that what's left appears as love. Is that so?
You could say that it's everything, nothing being everything. You could call it unconditional love. But it's not the love that we think of. The love that we think of is a meeting of needs, and it's in opposition to hate. So it's a play of that opposite. It's kindness, it's caring, it's nurturing, it's all of these things that we think of love as the opposite to, hateful things. And it's not at all like that. It's indescribable. Actually, unconditional love is just aliveness itself. This is unconditional love: singing, holding a microphone, sitting, sounds, and that's all there is. All there is energy, and energy, you could say, is unconditional love. But that's totally and utterly, completely beyond understanding. If someone has any understanding of that, what they have is some sort of abstraction and some sort of concept about it.
What precipitated this question was thinking about, I'm staying with a group of people right now, and each one, of course, is manifesting in its own way, and some of it I might consider dysfunctional or angry or controlling or resistant or reactive or whatever you got. And I was trying to reconcile that, which could be extrapolated, around the world, with this unconditional love essence.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like you're trying to fit it in. Like, I mean, it's just for me, all of what you just said there is just simply aliveness. So aliveness appears as functioning very well, and aliveness appears as dysfunction, or dysfunctional, or whatever is the appropriate term. And it's both is just aliveness appears as health, and aliveness appears as illness. Aliveness appears as love, and appears as kindness. It appears as pain, and it appears as pleasure. And as an individual, this play of opposites is absolutely real, because I'm real. It's dualism, and the world of dualism for the person is a total reality in the play of opposites. And that's how it just, and in that it understands and knows and relates to one to another. And when there's no longer a sense of being an individual, it's actually indescribable, and nobody can ever describe it. But then, I know that's kind of frustrating, isn't it? But the sense of being an individual, it's totally indescribable, but it's also nothing at all. This is some of this. It's often the big shock about it when it's seen. Is there can often be a lot of laughter about the utter ordinariness of it. It's just simply whatever's appearing to happen. So it's not indescribable because it's so esoteric and amazing. It's here, it's sitting on a chair, its hands clapping. It's nothing at all, literally nothing at all. It's just whatever appears. And in that then, that is boundless. This is boundless wholeness. In the story, this is a room in Brighton, in the south of England, and so on. And we have all of these boundaries and borders, and that's the it appears as that. But actually, this is everything, and nothing is everything. It's infinite.
But
and
it's not both, because if it is nothing, it is. Stop talking. Is it not?
You won't see that mic again now. Nobody else is going to see that. Well, there's always tomorrow, maybe.
But we'll go back to what you said. So what is left? Well, what is left is what's here. But even though it's not here, that's the way I kind of see it. Is that?
Yeah.
But that's.
So there's a lived sense of feeling separate. It's not an idea. Like, it's an energetic sense of feeling that I'm sitting on the chair. If I was separate now, if I felt separate, and I'm speaking to you, and it's a lived, cellular, contracted sense of feeling separate. So when that's no longer there, it's seeing that was always a story. That like in this case, Kenneth, that as an individual, like Kenneth wasn't a narrative or a story. I was a real individual with a real life. I had a life, and so that's what is being illuminated. Is that sense of being separate? It feels completely real, and then it feels like you have a life, and you're the managing director of your life, and you're steering it this way or that way through the choices you're making, and it's really happening to you, you know. And that causal reality is real, like the causality, and the one thing is happening and another thing is happening, and the sense of time, moving in time, you're moving forward. So all of that feels absolutely real. Then it's just boom, there's just what's going to happen. Then it's very, very, very obvious to nobody that all of that was a story. So then when somebody talks about, well, I'm feeling separate, I feel separate, it's just aliveness as appearing as a contracted individual, but it's totally a story. There is no individual there. So I'm not speaking to individuals in the room here and making a suggestion that through this talk they may somehow not be separate, and you won't fall away this afternoon even, because you're already not there. There's just whatever's appearing to happen. And the suggestion is that when you do feel that sense of separation, actually what's being yearned for is not making a shit ton of money or any sort of state or experience, although it might feel like it is and you're told it is, and you think, oh, this might be a good path to follow. Actually what's always just yearned for is just whatever's appearing to happen. But the individual, the apparent individual, rejects that continually in favour of what could happen in the model of mice. Like, it's a model. You could say the individual is modelling They're in this model of reality.
Is that our friend the ego?
I think the ego, for me, the ego is, when people talk about the ego, they talk about as if there's a thing called an ego, you know, and as if you have an ego. And for me, an ego is just simply a part of the individual. It's a part of the story of me. Like, there's nobody that has an ego. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I didn't get to talk too much.
See, he can take it. We have that.
I can continue.
Get it out.
Yeah. I'll do it. No, I have nothing to get out. That's it. I just came to see my friend. Who's not there.
Yeah.
But he is there. It can be both. Or it can't.
Thank you. So, of course, I understand that it's inconceivable, and I'd like you to tell me, I know that there's no one there experiencing anything, and asking you if you can convey what it's like to be in...
No. If I could convey it, then it would be knowable, right? If I could convey what it's like, if anybody is speaking and they can convey what it's like to not feel like an individual, it would be somehow knowable, and it's completely. For me, it's the individual that lives in knowing. It's just an aspect of. See, there's just aliveness, right? And then there's this sense of aliveness and me. There's a sense of life and me with my life, and in that apparent gap, there's an abstraction of knowing, and that's what the individual does. So then there's this just whatever is being illuminated here is totally and utterly unknowable. It's just, you will never get it. You will never ever get it. The feeling that you will get it is directly from the sense that you're an individual who lives in knowing, and it's an experience or a state, and it's something that I can have. And that's very seductive, and people talk, oh, it's this and it's that, and if you do A, B and C, then you'll get there. And then it's so seductive to the individual, because that's a reality where the individual is accustomed to. And it feels that that's real because I practiced the piano and I got better at the piano, and then I did my concert a year later. So that really feels really real. So when it comes to this, then why can't it be the same? Why can't I work my way to wholeness? Because you found wholeness, now I want to find wholeness. And there's many teachings that this is not a teaching. This is anything that calls itself a teaching for me is nonsense. Because it's unknowable, it's unteachable, and it's simply already whatever is appearing to happen. So this whole illumination is totally energetic, and it can be sensed, and that there's just whatever is appearing to happen.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a sense of what it's like as an organism, because I see that around this character there are reactions.
Yeah.
And I understand that I have no control over what this is, and can't be what another organism might want me to be or behave in the way they want me to behave, and it's just like, hello.
That's just what's happening then. That's just what's appearing to happen. That's in the story, that's what's appearing to happen. There's a sense in the story that there's other people who kind of there's a dissonance maybe with what they want and what's appearing to happen, and the issue is for them apparently, and that's just simply energy. That's just what's appearing to happen. It's not right or wrong or anything, and it doesn't require any understanding or knowing. Or what understanding would it require?
No kind of understanding. Yeah. No kind of understanding. It's and I feel very grateful for this message, because energetically there has been a huge shift here. And so it's able to deal with a lot of shit. But it's difficult sometimes to be a lightning rod for other people's shit. But being a lightning rod, that's just story now again, because there are no other people. Only in the story. In the story there are other people, and they have their shit and you have your shit. There's just energy. There's just what's appearing to happen, and it's whole and complete, and whatever other word you want to put on it. And it appears as people. Thank you.
Who say this and say that and say, oh.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, nothing needs to be, there's nothing that can be grasped or known, and also it's told, what's actually yearned for is completely, totally and utterly inescapable and all-embracing. That's all there is. So if there was a sense of someone who was in this meeting and just energetically felt, well, I don't really like this, which can happen frequently, and they go out there, right? All they will encounter is aliveness. That's aliveness. That's all there is. There's not even a meeting. It's just a story. It's an appearance. You could say it's real and unreal if you want, if that helps for people. But then the individual is only in the real. It's in a subject-object reality where I'm real. This is really happening. It started at this time. It's time, it's space. It's really happening. And that's dissatisfying. In a way that nobody can ever put their finger on it really, and it's kind of there's a yearning in that.
So even the organism is real and unreal?
It's energy appearing as a body. Yeah. There's nothing that's solid and real like the individual thinks. It lives in it's a model, and it lives in this reality that everything is it's there are things, there are objects. Like there's a chair, and it only sees objects because it feels like the subject. So it's a subject object reality. And then when there's me and there's the sound of the seagulls, that's what I mean by subject object. And then there's you're an object to my subject, and the sound of the seagulls is an object, and the seagulls themselves are an object. And it's a very dissatisfying reality, because it's only an appearance, because actually it's just energy seagulling, energy Sahareing. The subject object perception is just a story. But when it feels like it's there, it doesn't feel like a story. It's a lived sense of that separateness. And all the time, actually, there's just a total invitation that there's, oh, hello, there's just this, there's just that sound, or there's just whatever's appearing to happen. But I think you're going to try and understand it then again. Maybe there's kind of and that's totally fine. Like with this afternoon, I mean, that's what the individual is going to do at any of these meetings, is the individual will have a sense of, well, I want to understand non-duality, or I want to understand what's being said. And then the questions come from wanting to know or whatever. And that's completely appropriate. That's what appears to happen. And then, but it can be, when the question appears to arise and the answer appears to come up, what can be very obvious is there's nothing being fed, because there's no individual being spoken to. And there can be this openness to this resonance that actually it's not about the answer. It's not about knowing anything. It's totally unknowable, ungraspable, and inescapable.
At what point do all the questions just dissolve then into nothing? I mean,
I have no idea. There's only what's appearing to happen. So there's either appears to be questions or there doesn't. It's irrelevant, really. Like for me, there's just aliveness. So if there's one apparent individual and it's question, that's just what, it doesn't mean anything. It's just what's appearing to happen. And then you could have another character there doesn't seem to be any questions anymore. That's just what's appearing to happen. Like there's no way I can say, because I have no idea, because I can't see an individual. There's no individuals here already, but they might say that they feel like individuals, and I can't say anything that will in any way kind of touch that sense of separateness. Nobody ever can. And it's nonsense if they say they can. And it just really is in the story. It's just reinforcing that the speaker kind of sees, is speaking to somebody, and he can say, oh, well, this weekend you could see that possibly there are less questions, and that sense of separation might not be there by Sunday afternoon, and that's the end of the search. What utter nonsense. I mean, how could you possibly say that? I have no idea. Someone could appear to come and have more questions. I feel more like an individual. If there's a question, there's a question. It's just, that's what's appearing.
So with the subject-object relationship, is it the subject and the object they just dissolve into each other, or is that question irrelevant, really? Because
no question is irrelevant. I mean, that's what I was saying at the beginning. Any sort of question is there. There's no such thing as a silly question, or it's all energetic. So
I meant silly in the sense that it sort of answers itself, that if there's no subject-object relationship, then there's only
what's going to happen. Yeah. That's it. There's just aliveness. Like, it's so ordinary. The problem is, really, it's too ordinary. That's the problem. Because if it's a clear, uncompromising communication from nothing, it's illuminating that it's just simply whatever is appearing to happen. It's a very disappointing communication to the individual who lives in happenings and what might be and hopeful energy. It's simply just whatever is appearing to happen. That's all there is. That's all there ever has been. There's never been a separate you. There's never been someone who had a life. And all of that is just, it can be seen that all of that is just a story. Could you hit that? Thanks. It's probably knocked off, is it? Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks. My camera lady. Flown over from Ireland. Yeah. Is this number ticking? Yeah.
What?
On the back, there should be a screen. It should be. Yeah, perfect.
It's just that you're still on it. You're not actually moving.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems to be a sort of rejection of cause and effect.
Yeah.
Does that sort of disappear?
It's not so much a rejection of cause and effect. This communication isn't really a rejection of anything. It's just an illumination that cause and effect are in the story. So the whole reality of an individual is one where there's a separate me. So there's life, and I have my life, and you're moving in time and space. And time and space, really, and causality, I would see them. They're the same. They're the same thing, really. And that's a lived sense when you feel separate. Like, you feel like you saw the ad for the meeting, you feel like you emailed about it, you feel like and it feels like there's one thing appears to happen and another and another and another. And that's just from the reality of feeling separate. So it feels like a reality for the individual. It feels absolutely real that I'm moving in time and space, and it's just an appearance, actually. Yeah. You've never done anything ever, and this is nothing appearing to happen. That's what it is. It's energy, nothing appearing to happen. So this is everything appearing as a gathering in a room in Brighton. Whereas the individual's living in the real. It's like there's a real meeting happening. It's happening at this time, and I'm at it. So that there's a sense of that relating to.
So nothing appearing is everything.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I suppose it's not the kind of thing to wrap your head around.
It'd be quite difficult, wouldn't it?
But
it'd be kind of hard.
But even so, is it not something is appearing to happen, but it's not what it seems, or something like that? The nothing.
Oh, I mean, the nothing is like all the individual can do really is with nothing is only make something out of nothing. That's all it can do, because it feels like something and it can only see something else. So anytime with regard to nothing, it has to make a concept out of nothing or turn it into something, and then thinks it can understand nothing. But then you have something. Nothing is that reality of an individual, apparent reality of an individual, is that subject object where I'm real and everything else is real and I'm moving in time and space and all of that. And it feels completely real that you're an object really to me, and I'm speaking to you now and we're relating and so on, and that feels absolutely real. And you could say it's a half alive kind of reality, is one way of describing it, because the reason you could describe it as a half alive And reality is it's only something that's being seen, and no thing can't be seen. And then when the individual hears about no thing, the individual wants to see nothing. Of course they do. I want to see nothing now. But then the minute you try and see nothing, you've made something out of nothing. But the sense, actually, nothing is only seen when that sense of you just isn't there. And then there's whatever's appearing to happen, which is nothing being everything. Because it's not non-duality. There's not two separate things. There's not a thing called nothing and a thing called something. But the dualism that the individual is the dualism of something and nothing, life and death. You know, it's because they feel that's the way. Yeah.
It is terrifying. As in like a couple of days ago, I tried to create a thought. I was just trying to. I should be able to create a thought, and I'm sort of hurt myself with sort of tension in my head because it became clear that I couldn't do. I couldn't manufacture a thought. It either appears or doesn't. And the reaction that's been observed is of fear, like of loss, loss of not just the story that I've been very attached to, but also the story of my family, like in terms of individuals there and seeing them and what they're saying as stories.
Yeah.
You know, as it unravels possibly isn't an accurate word, but it feels like as it accurate to describe it as an unraveling.
What? Sorry, what might not be an accurate word? I didn't catch.
Unraveling.
Unraveling. Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah.
This story and the story of my partner and our children, and
yeah,
because it's previously been such a rich and vivid story that
there's
no sort of second guessing. This is
it's absolutely real. Yeah,
yes.
I really have a life. This is my life. There really are my children. This is really my partner. So on. It feels absolutely real. And you're correct. It can be terrifying to that still feels separate. Terrifying, because really what's glimpsed is the emptiness of everything. Everything feels so solid and real, and it can just be very obvious that actually everything is completely, totally empty and it's not even happening. But that can be extremely confronting. Like generally this, if it's a clear communication, it will be a very confronting communication for the individual. So in any given meeting, there will be those that feel extremely confronted by what's being said, because they want this to be, they want to be spoken to, and they want the reality of them to be reinforced. So that's why there's such a draw to, if I was any kind of a teacher, it would be energetically totally different, and it would be, the individual would feel very safe in that, because you are reaffirming that I am an actual individual, and the way you're doing that is you're talking about a thing called oneness or wholeness, which I can do something to get to. So clear communication has this quality, boundless quality, that can resonate. And if it resonates, it can actually be both. It can feel very confronting and also be resonating in a way that's liberating. Like it can feel, both can be equally. Yeah.
In this story was full of rules, but should, in terms of either my weight, what I was eating, or how I was parenting,
yeah,
being a partner, and as a result, but it appeared that as a result, a lot of the interactions were based upon those rules and those guidelines, and part of the terrifying and liberating part of it is that those rules are illusionary.
Yeah,
they don't exist.
It's just a story. Another way of saying it. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So then, like, and the last few days, I've been you talk about that life in free fall.
Yeah.
Thinking about in terms of, if there is no choice, there's no one.
Yeah.
Choosing.
Yeah.
Then what happens.
Appears to happen. Yeah.
Exactly. So the past 3 days, started like that, and then interactions with other stories, the glimpse, if it's the right word, starts to, there's a contraction or a tightening, whatever, come back to, no, these are the rules I should be.
Yes, yeah.
But it starts with, I have no idea what's happening, or how that's come up.
Yeah.
So I'm speaking very abstractly, but
You're not at all. No, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. And it's gorgeous because that's what's beginning to happen there. Is this utter? It is the utter free fall of unknowing, the utter free fall of them leaves just waving, just like that, the way they're waving. The people in the room, the kind of slight movements, the sounds of voices, the seagulls. It's all completely unknowable, actually. But when you are an individual, you to remain safe in feeling separate, you will know it because you'll know that you're sitting on the chair, you're hearing the seagulls, and actually then immediately then it's not seen as it actually is.
And there's lots of things that haven't been labelled yet, or haven't got a noun or a way of being described, or boxed.
And it's new, you see, because the newness isn't seen when you feel separate, and there's a yearning for newness, but there's a sense of, it's like being an individual is a sense of repetition and knowing. So you know what it's like to walk down the street, to be in work, to talk to this person. I know this person, because I met them then, and everything is unknowable. Really, you never really met anybody. You met your idea of them, and you're meeting your idea of them all the time, and then you think you know them, but there is no solid anything, and actually nothing even repeats. It only appears to repeat, like the individual sense of familiarizing through knowing and keeping safe. Yeah, and actually then the free fall this is totally new, the newness for nobody, because it's there and not there. This is nothing being everything. So it's nothing appearing as a room in Brighton. Yeah. Yeah. The bins need to go on a Tuesday. Correction. That's your reality. You still get a bollocking by the wife. You mean you didn't put the fucking bins out? You're joking me. No, I'm not actually joking. I didn't actually put them out. Yeah. Could I trouble you, Brendan, for another? It's thirsty work, this is. Thanks, gentlemen. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
Can you talk about the concept of time?
Yeah, so time is an appearance in the story of it's real and unreal. Like for the individual, it's not real and unreal, it's completely real. So there's a really lived sense of there being time and a lived sense of like time and space being, I suppose you could say two sides of the same thing, really, or on a continuum or whatever. So there's a real sense of moving in space forward towards something, and having a past then, because things have really happened to you. So it's like a country in the past where you have access to these memories of the things that really happened. And in the story, then there's a little slice of ham in there called the present, and then there's this game that goes on, that there really is a thing called the present, that you can be in it. It's really lovely, that you can be in the present, and the more you're in the present, the better that is for you. So it's very, it's obviously very common spiritual kind of teaching, being in the moment and mindfulness and all of that. I mean, where is it? Show it to me. Like, where does it start and when does it finish? When does the past become the past? It's ridiculous. There's actually nothing there at all. But the individual, but in the same way that the individual feels that there's a me there, it's all out of that sense of separation. So the same way that, well, who's speaking? Well, I'm speaking. And whose body is this? It's my body. But where are you? Where? Show. But I'm here. I'm here. It's me. It's my body. Like, it's a real sense, a real lived sense of separateness. So that's there, and it feels that way until it doesn't. When that sense of being separate just is no longer, it's seen, nothing even happens, but time is just an appearance then. It's an aspect of the story of separateness, of this kind of apparent interface with apparently separate people that we can convene at 2:00 in Brighton, and that seems, for the individual, kind of confirms it's a real thing. Yeah. It's just an aspect of feeling separate, yeah, that it's in the story of separateness, in the same way that choice, that you feel that you're real and you have a choice about what you do or not do. So that's also in the story. But then, for the time when in the stories, in the teachings, there's kind of this sense that you can somehow use time to find eternity, through practices and being in the moment, or being maybe meditation. So being in this, just sitting with what's appearing to happen, focusing on your breathing, being in the moment. And what happens really is a kind of, it throws up kind of experiences and states for the individual. And because those states kind of contrast with what the normal state for the individual, they think, well, that was it. I wasn't a person there. There was no sense of separateness. And then what they do then is continually kind of try and chase that experience, and then maybe integrate that experience, or maybe kind of have that, make that their full-time experience, whatever. And all of that is just in the story. Because what's yearned for is not even, it's not an experience. It's just, it's the end of the one who experiences. So if you think about an experience, it requires an experiencer. So if we're here, we're all around the room here now. So when there's a sense of separation, there's a sense of that this is really happening, and it's, I'm here, and I have an experience then of sitting in the room listening to some guy talking. And when there's no longer an individual, then there's no longer someone to pull an experience out of it. It requires that sense of separation for you to have an experience. Yeah. So then there's simply whatever's appearing to happen, because it's so immediately just seagulls and heads nodding, and it's so immediately just this. There's no one to experience it. And it's very obvious then that that's actually how things actually are, if you want to call it the natural reality or whatever. But the individual then is in their story, feels that they're having experiences, and they're significant, of course. A glimpse is an experience for that appears to come back after it. So if you want to say a glimpse is, say if there's an awakening or a glimpse, and there just feels like there's just wholeness or just whatever is appearing to happen, then the individual, for the individual, there'll be a sense then that what happened to me there, what was that? So then they will it'll be an experience for that sense of the individual, and they will put some meaning on it then, same as with everything else. So there'll be a sense that's, that was amazing. I have to try and get that back, or taste that again, or bring that into my life. And then the whole thing just appears to go round and round. And actually then, like, it becomes like this way of contrasting, oh, this is just, sitting in a room and the sun is shining and whatever. It's not like that experience I had 2 years ago when there was just blissful wholeness, whatever. And it's like something the individual has to contrast as evidence that they're not there yet. But actually the experience is totally and utterly meaningless, or the glimpse is totally meaningless. And as we were just saying earlier, everything is new. It will never be like that again. So if there was a glimpse and there was a sense of wholeness, the individual wants to has that memory and wants to kind of get back there and find that again. But actually everything is nothing and nothing is everything. So it will never be like that again. Never. Can't be. Yeah. But it's just simply that, if it's like that appears to be that collapse of separateness and the collapse of that reality, that time space cause of reality, and it's indescribable. It's just, there's just what's appearing to happen, but then you'll try and know it then when you appear to come back. It doesn't, it's not right or wrong or anything. Yeah.
Hi, Kenneth.
Hi,
nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Is this working?
Yeah, it's just really for the people online and for the recording.
Okay.
I know it feels a bit ridiculous in a small room holding a mic. I'm sorry, I apologize. But what I mean is, if I do record it, then I'll get good audio then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, sitting here now,
Yeah.
there appears to be sort of nothing behind my eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's all sort of there. It's all just here. And it's like that quite a lot.
Mm.
When I start engaging with people,
Yeah,
particularly family, I'm just sort of sucked into, I don't even know what it is. I don't know if it's narrative but
drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you just speak a bit to that? I mean, as soon as I got in the car, 5-hour drive ago.
Oh, wow.
I know. I was just looking, body, everything seemed to be just one thing.
Mm.
And then in here, it's like that.
Mm.
But when I'm there in the drama, as you say, which,
yeah,
I just forget. It's like that's all just forgotten, and then it come back again, and then
it's just
could you
what
just
it's
talk
just
to that a bit?
it's just what's appearing to happen there. Then, so there's a sense of being separate when there's certain dynamics or whatever in the story, and there's kind of he said, she said stuff, and it feels like it's more real maybe, and then there's a sense of maybe just that there's just whatever's appearing to happen, whatever way you described it. But the suggestion being made is even then, there's not actually a real you there that's kind of back again. And people, they hear it like that. They hear there's a sense that, oh, I'm there, and then I'm not there, and I'm there, and I'm not there. And actually, you're not really there when you think you're, but it is all anybody can say is how they feel, that's what I feel like I'm there. I feel like it's real, or I feel like the drama is real, or whatever.
I hear the human voice, and I go,
yeah,
what is she talking about?
yeah. And it just is like that until it isn't. It can just be seen that everything is just a play of light. So the play of light would also be someone who feels they know you and some sort of story that's going on, and it can just be seen it's all just energy. It's not right or wrong or anything, and there's nothing that's needed, nothing needs to happen with anything or not happen.
When you talk about things sort of dancing, do you say that? Dancing? Like the leaves? Is it just movement?
When I was describing, I mean, it's just, I guess sometimes I just point out things that are very ordinary. So for me, looking out the window, there's just the leaves are stirring. And it's just everything, but there is no really outside or inside or anything, but it's all just this, it's all just wholeness, it's oneness, it's indescribable, and it's all new because they'll never stir like that again. And it can be the sense, but the individual is like, oh fucking, what's he on about? Leaves, like, Jesus Christ, that fucking leaves, like, I mean, that's not too exciting, is it? Because there can be a lived sense of there's me looking at the leaves. That's the lived sense of being separate. And then when I speak like that, it would be natural for the individual to kind of want to get something in that or see something in that or whatever. Yeah.
Well, it sounds really weird, but I've noticed lately that when I'm sort of looking at trees and stuff like that, there's just so much more movement. It's like everything's sort of flickering, whereas before I literally wouldn't have noticed it.
Yeah.
Whereas it's almost like every leaf is doing something different.
Yeah.
And that's just what's appearing to happen.
Everything is and isn't. That's what I mean. Like everything is new because there's not everything and nothing. There's not two. There's not life and me with my life. There's nothing appearing as everything, and everything is new, as opposed to that sense of it being moving in time and space. And also there's a whole special thing that goes on. Like, I mean, the individual lives in this dualism of wanting, thinking they're special, not special. So, I mean, what's that? I mean, there's leaves stirring, so what? And the bird went up. I mean, what about it? Like, it's just ordinary. The individual wants special and fireworks, and experientially feels that they get that sometimes and holds that as a memory then, and then wants it again and whatever. But it's the collapse of special, not special, because there's nothing that is special. are not special. That's all within the story.
And yet it all seems more amazing.
Oh, it's
somehow.
stunning. It's stunningly, like, it's stunning beyond any idea the individual could have about it. The idea the individual would have about, if we call it liberation, is utter nonsense to when it's actually seen. But it's stunning, and it's also nothing at all. It's also just totally ordinary. But that's how it appears to hide, you see, because the individual lives in special, not special, and feels that what they're yearning for is special, and there's a continual rejection of what's yearned for is continually rejected in favor of what could be, what might be. And there's that whole hopeful anticipation then of, and this said, oh, maybe I'll fall away, and maybe I won't be an individual. It's always like it's going to be tomorrow or later on, or it's always this, and that's that whole energy of feeling separate. A time and space are relative as well. That's what I meant to say with your family. Time and space are relative. The more time you spend with your family, the more space you need. That's a bad joke, sorry. There'll be time for bad jokes. As Gal would say, shit joke there, Kenny.
I got 2 going to university in 4 weeks, so plenty of time then.
Oh, nice to be. Empty nesting happening. Don't worry, they'll be back. Apparently back with a load of shit.
I mean, I see what you mean, because when you're looking at trees, or you can really just see that aliveness of a leaf or whatever. But when you've got someone there, somehow the person has got a story and a this and a that, and it's a kind of different.
Oh yeah, the kind of the narrative feels realer. Is that what you mean when it's
exactly? So trees don't have a narrative. There's leaves, and you can just kind of it can be just
of course,
whatever. But with a person, somehow
it's the drama straight away, and it's he said, she said,
and they've got their own thing going on. And so it's very different.
Especially when you know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, you've got to come.
And there's a mother.
Yeah. Heedlessness. Yeah, but I mean, you see, what's being suggested this afternoon, right, is very simple, actually. There's just energy, aliveness, and that is nothing being everything. So there's nothing that's not what's yearned for. So if there's a sense of an apparent relationship with someone, and there's some sort of tension, the tension is it. And if there's some sort of argument, the argument is it, because it's all just energy. The individual is, in a sense, this reality that there's a real thing called a real relationship. It's an actual thing. Even if you think about it, a relationship, how can it be a thing? It's nonsense. And then it's a thing that has to be nurtured, or it can be this way and it can be that way. And then the sense of being an individual is very much that this is bad and that's good. So we need more of this and we need less of that. And this is the whole kind of story of the individual, is pulling in one thing and pushing away another.
As you were saying, there's all these rules around other people.
Yeah.
Whereas with a tree with leaves blowing around, it's there's not that kind of. Yeah.
Well, it can be seen at any point that there is nobody. There's nothing appearing to happen. It can always just be seen that actually, instead of, oh, this is my husband or my wife and we're doing that it's just aliveness, and it's as a warm embrace and as an argument.
I'll try telling that to my teenager.
Yeah. Life teenagers. Yeah. Life teenagers. Yeah.
When you say it can be seen, you don't mean it can be known.
No, I don't mean that. And when I say it's seen, I don't mean by anybody either. Yeah, it's not anybody that sees. It's just at any point, it can be that sense of being separate and just because it's just not there. And it's not a happening, you see, because it's the individual that is in happenings. Oh, this happened, and then that happened, and then I get on the car and I went and and the 5 hours, and then I'm here. It's all one thing happening after another. And then if there's no sense of being an individual, it's obvious to nobody that nothing even happened because I was never even there. It was always a story that I was there. So the best you could describe it is like an energetic thing that just doesn't seem to be there anymore. Yeah.
It just makes no sense.
No, not at all. No. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. It makes absolutely no sense. The individual is in a reality. Oh, JP, sorry, you're in the waiting room. The individual is in an apparent reality, a logical, linear reality. So when you suggest this, it's like it wants to fit into that logical linear reality where they know everything is knowable, and I have to know this. I want to know what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely bang on. It's completely illogical.
In an Andrea speaking, you said it's everything appearing as nothing appearing as something. And I was happy with that. And then he added, but for no one.
Yeah.
Much to say.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you think you've gotten your kind of head around this, and you've gotten like people think they know non-duality, and such a nonsense.
Yeah.
Like a clear communication, it's amazing because a clear communication comes from unknowing, so it actually comes from someone who doesn't know. And anyone who's clear, I won't bother listing people. There's not that many, but anyone who's clear. You can feel it energetically. They're not speaking to you from some bank of knowledge or something they know. And if they are, most under the heading of non-duality are energetically, whoa. For me, I can't watch it anything. It's whoa, because they're telling you, the wholeness and oneness, and they're speaking to you, and they're speaking from knowing, and it's energetically. It's not dangerous and boundless and. Doesn't have that quality. And the individual immediately knows when they're being spoken to. Immediately. And they go, oh, relax. That's lovely. They're speaking to me. You can sense it, yeah. And then that's the ones that tend to be quite popular. Oh, well. Yeah.
I'm being listened to, I'm being heard.
It's a constant feeding. That's it. I'm
valued and full of special.
Yeah, I'm special. Yeah. So the individual, like if this was meeting for the individual, you'd have the mic and you'd ask a question. I go, I'm so glad you asked that. That's a really good question. And we then enter into a dance. It's all a game, And you'd feel, oh, that was a good question, wasn't it? That was nice. And I feed you and you feed me in the same way that
let's do it.
That was a good comment, actually. That was a good. The same teacher. It's the same teacher-student thing. See, there's no teacher, and there's no such thing as a teacher, and there's no such thing as a student. But energetically, it's like let's play a game where there is. So then, when the student wants there to be a teacher, and the teacher wants to play the game of being a student, then it's like it's an energetic. It's like a circuit. It's like a feedback loop. It's like putting on a light switch. Boom. Then, for all intensive purposes, to people, it really does look like there's a teacher and there's a student. And for the student, it would really feel like there's a teacher. And it's all just energy. There's no such thing as a teacher. It's only in the story they're feeding each other. That's why you hear about it very quickly just falling apart. I don't know if you've often heard from people who would have been at the feet of some teacher, a so-called teacher, and then just very suddenly gone, oh my God, there's absolutely nothing there. There's nothing there at all. There's no special, there's no such thing as special. It's only for the individual. I only seem special. I only appear special.
But that's all those teachings, and they just reinforce the separation.
Yeah, they're just in the story. They're not right or wrong or anything. They're just in the story. Yeah, yeah. They're teachings of. They're speaking to an apparently separate entity that can find a thing called wholeness. So they're just within that loop then. So therefore they reinforce that this isn't wholeness then. If there's oneness and wholeness, and you're telling me how to find it, that means there is separate and I am separate then. And it's a thing that I can find.
I'll show you how to kiss yourself on the lips.
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
It's nonsense, yeah.
This is nonsense too.
Yeah. Well, it's just an expression. Everything, nothing has any value at all. It's just as it is. So someone quite often would hear this and think it's utter nonsense. And this isn't actually anything at all. It just appears. So if they feel it's utter nonsense, then that's what's happening. It's utter nonsense. And then someone else will go, oh my God, this is just as a resonance with it, blah, blah. And then that's what's appearing to happen. Yeah. So, I mean, people hear this often because, well, nobody can hear this, but what I mean is that like the stories and the spirituality and all of this is all like non-duality and Advaita and all of these things. They're speaking about nobody. There is nobody. And so they're very seductive to the individual because they offer to you somehow to find wholeness, you know. And they're people, if they have been on that path or they're on that path, they feel that they're on their path. This communication to them is horrendous. They don't like this because their whole sense of identity can be tied into, well, no, I have meditated for years and I have been in oneness and I'm closer to oneness. Yeah. And don't tell me that that fucker down there is drinking every day. Don't tell me he's closer than me because I would have been down the pub with him if I'd have known. Do you know what I mean? And it can't be like that. I have to be, you know, a bit closer to, because I've really put in hard work now. I've gone to India even. I've done my time in the ashram. Yeah.
But this is the thing about this message. I mean, when I try and think about it or sort it out, it just completely does my head in. When I just sit with it,
yeah,
something quite gorgeous.
Yeah, you're not sitting with it. There's no you there that's either confused by it or sitting with it, but it's simply that this can resonate. Yeah. That resonates beyond description. There just can be a resonance that's not describable. It's all right.
So what is it that pulls people in?
Nothing. It's nothing.
Why am I here? What is
You're
it?
not here though.
I know. I'm using the language. Why is the non-me?
Yeah, but you're not here though. You really aren't here. Like there is no here. There's just a sharing, and there's either a resonance with it or there isn't. And if there appears to be a resonance, you'll appear to find yourself watching a video or coming to a meeting. Appear is the word though, and it just plays out like that. And it can be that there's a resonance, and equally at the same time, it can be very kind of push-pull, because there's something that just, because everybody knows this, everyone in this room, completely 100%, there's nobody in the room, it's totally and utterly known already, completely known, because everyone is simply just aliveness. And then overlaying that can be this sense of being a me, this story. So it's like an addition, it's a false addition. And then that's trying to make sense of all blah, blah, blah. So there's just that's the way it is. It can be, there's a resonance, and then at the same time, energetically, there's kind of appears to be a me who's, yeah, but, or yeah, this kind of sense that, and then that's also it, but then whatever. Oh God. It's just,
yeah, that's just incredible that everything.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's stunning. Yeah.
Did you find that there was a?
We try the mic and see. Even though they can probably hear you, okay. But
did you feel like there was a letting go into that?
No, not at all. No. Nothing happened. That's why I don't talk about anything happening, because nothing did happen. Nothing like if you appear to fall away, what you appear to do before then is irrelevant, and it would be despite anything you feel you've done before then. And here there was happened to be kind of what appeared as meditation, but was very obvious from the beginning that it was nothing to do with that. And so there was a sense of like there was a confusion and a sense of like really very clearly that it was just whatever was appearing to happen. So if there's just whatever's appearing to happen, how, and there always had been that, how could I have done anything to bring that about? You know, so it would, if you feel that you've done something to bring about the end of you, it would be despite what you think you've done, if you know what I mean, which is a total head fuck then, because we're just so used to that reality of doing, result. You know, you do this, you get a result. So then the logical question to anyone who's any clear communicator, the logical question to them is going to be, so what happened to you? Tell me what happened to you so I can make it happen to me. Nothing. This is nothing appearing to happen. There's already no separate you. You know, in the story there could be, did you say softening or kind of is that the word you use?
Letting go.
Yeah. Well, there'd be nobody who would let go, but it just plays out whatever way it plays out. That's just the way, you know, because if it's resonating, like who would it be that would let go? You know, there's nobody there to let go. There's just simply whatever's appearing to happen. And if that is clarity, that's clarity. If that's confusion is what's appearing to happen. Or if it's a sense of yearning for what is being spoken of, it is already the yearning, and then it's game over. It's game over, because I mean, like, there's just what's appearing to happen. Apparently, game over. It's very simple. Like this whole afternoon and tomorrow afternoon, like I've already said it in the first 2 minutes. That's it. It's so simple, but it's too simple for the individual. The individual wants special. He wants to know. It's the sound of the siren. It's the sense of sitting on the chair. If there's a thought, it's the appearance of a thought. It's simply immediately just whatever's appearing to happen. There is no you there. Things are happening too, and there never has been.
It's inescapable.
It's inescapable, yeah. It's completely, what's yearned for is totally and utterly inescapable, unobtainable and inescapable. You know, I like the second one, not so much the first one.
Which is the second?
Oh, I can't remember now. I mixed them up. Inescapable, I think, was the whichever way. So the individual wants I like that it's inescapable, but I don't like that it's unobtainable. Yeah, I kind of, because I want to, of course, like energetically, the individual wants something in this gathering, and that's totally and utterly logical. But it can just be seen that there's nothing to get. There's nowhere to get. There's nothing to know, and there's just what's appearing to happen.
But we all get there in the end, don't we?
Yeah.
We all get there in the end, because when the body stops working, what happens? So you go, what happens? Just energy. Where does the energy you're just released? So where are you released to? So it's the same thing. We all get there in the end, all running around searching, thinking, oh, I'm going to do this. I was the guy down in the pub. So what he said earlier on. He was the guy going to India. No, but it's yeah. So it's because that's it. And I think maybe like for me, it was always there was all this fear around death, where you going and what's this, and it becomes all this whole holding on to life because life, like what happened, and I never really understood that.
why is there a fear of death? Like what? It's again. I quite enjoy being me and living and doing that at the same time. But if it happens, it happens. I don't want it to happen. I've got a young family, all this kind of stuff. Or do I? I know this is on the thing, but in the whole kind of like the non-duality kind of side of things is that you're just going along with your energy, and that's what you're doing. And then when the body stops working, your energy keeps going.
But there's no you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's not me. Well, that's
no
just.
you
But
there.
they're just my words. They're my words.
Energy is going outside.
Yeah.
The body,
But
right?
Yeah. Just that was expressed the way it was there, but that there's no you that dies. Actually, there's no death. There's no such thing as death. Actually, so for the individual, there's a sense that there's life, and I have a little slice. I have my little slice of the pie, so I have a life. People really feel that they have a life, right? So then, if you have a life, you can lose it, can't you? You can die because there's this other thing, this kind of big black blobby thing called death. So there's two for the individual. Yeah. So there's life and there's death. Non-duality, wholeness, not two, is that there's just wholeness already. So there's only the appearance of those two when you feel separate. So that can happen at apparently physical death. It's very obvious to nobody that there was nobody. So the sense of separateness is there. And it's obvious that nothing is happening. Or else it can happen before physical death. And there's appearance of still the body, where there's not a thing called life and a thing called death. There's just what's appearing to happen.
I want more about this. Because if it's happening while the body is still functioning,
yeah,
I don't know how to say it. There's something what the fuck is it?
There's just it's indescribable. There's just what's appearing to happen then. But gone is the sense that there's a me that it's appearing to happen too. So when you can see it's in a way it's the same but there's just the body seems to keep functioning as opposed to the breakdown of the organism that is the body. The heart stops and is no longer there, but it's energetically there appears to be, but that sense of someone who has a life is completely, totally and utterly gone, and everything is unknowable, and there's just what's appearing to happen.
But wait. Okay. I used to feel that when the body dies, that something here energetic with awareness would go on some adventure.
Okay,
energetic, wherever, whatever.
It was an idea then,
right. And I've been given to understand that that's not so, that when the body is finished, everything's finished. It's just finished. There's no awareness of anything.
But awareness is just for the individual, you see.
Yes.
And awareness and consciousness are completely irrelevant. They're just actually an aspect of information processing. That's all they are. And this is what is interesting about AI now. They know this in AI now. They know that there's no thing called consciousness. They know this in AI, artificial intelligence. If you listen to certain speakers in AI, it's very, 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 very clear to them. There's no thing called consciousness. It's an aspect of information processing. And that's all it is. It's the individual who feels, because there's a processing of information, there's this mysterious thing called awareness. And it's simply an aspect of feeling separate. It means nothing at all. It's completely irrelevant. There's no awareness here. Like, there's just speaking now. There's nobody who is aware. So the individual who feels aware.
Okay.
Because awareness is knowing, put it that way, if you want to put it that way. Awareness is just knowing, that's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when the body is finished, there's nothing left.
There's no awareness, or there's no consciousness, or someone who knows that the body's finished. There's just aliveness. No, like that can't be described. It's an energy. You could say it's some sort of energetic shift, but there's nowhere to go. There's no way of describing it or knowing it. It's just as I can't describe a thing called life. But for the individual, it's a sense. They see that something happens. They feel that death is something happens to somebody, but there's nobody there that it happens to. And it's not a happening. It's just
the death.
There is no death. Is another way of saying it.
Well, but there's the cessation of life.
Sorry, it's going.
In the body. There's a cessation of life in the body. The physical body.
There's a cessation of that feels there's a thing called life and there's a thing called death. So there's just what's appearing to happen then. It's just it's very ordinary, and it's an energetic appearance. So actually, when we talk about death, what we're really talking about is our sense of our absence, and we're terrified of our absence.
But it's
and the big joke,
right?
The big joke is you're not there. The very thing you're terrified of is you're already not there. You're not speaking now. There's no you there that's lounging on the couch.
Thank you.
I think we're going to have. What time do you usually have tea at, Brendan?
Now, maybe.
I think now, yeah. Now's a good time.
Before we break, can I just?
Yeah.
You said there's no awareness, but you aware when you're hungry, you're aware when you've hurt yourself, you're aware of those needs.
So all of those things you just said,
yeah.
There's hunger, right? So then there's hunger. So there's someone speaking, and then there's speaking. The awareness, it's like the individual feels that there has to be some sort of awareness or consciousness for anything to even happen. But it doesn't. It's just an addition. When there's hunger, there's hunger. If there's pain, there's pain. If there's pleasure, there's pleasure.
So it's just a reaction of
the the awareness is an addition. It's an addition that comes from the story of me.
Yeah. Me claims it.
Yeah. And it feels like awareness feels like it's really the key to everything. Consciousness, awareness, it's going to unlock some. And then all the teachings, of course, feed that, because they teach you how to be aware of your breathing, be aware of this, be aware of that, and it's just endless. And it's irrelevant, because actually you are irrelevant. The story of you is totally irrelevant, whereas the individual is the only thing that's relevant. Like the individual will come to this and feel that there's something about the way I am that is somehow can be, is the key to me finding what I'm looking for. And actually the way you are is irrelevant, because actually it's just a story.